15 car brands are collapsing in Britain right now in 2026. One of them registered just 6 cars in a single month. And I promise you will not guess which one is sitting at number 1. I get a lot of mail from Britain, more every year, and the questions are all versions of the same one. Should I buy this brand? So today I am going to answer that properly, because when a car brand starts to die, it is never the executives who pay for it, it is you. Your resale value, your warranty, your ability to get a part in 5 years, and your ability to find a dealer within an hour of your house. 2 forces are tearing these brands apart at once, and I will get to both at the end, because once you understand the mechanism, you can judge any brand yourself. Now before we get into it, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. If you enjoy these mechanic secrets and hacks for free, consider subscribing. It is free and you can always change your mind later. Now let's get into it. Number 15. Smart. The little city car brand that was going to change urban driving. In Britain it has faded to almost nothing, having stepped back from the market and returned as an electric-only proposition under a joint venture. Whatever is on the badge, the practical question for an owner is dealer coverage and parts. And for a brand this small in this market, both are thin. And there is a lesson in the Smart story that applies to everything else on this list. A brand built around one clever idea has nowhere to go when the market moves, because it has no range to fall back on. If you own one, keep it serviced by a specialist independent who knows them, and do not expect strong money when you sell. Number 14. Abarth. A performance sub-brand of Fiat, which as you will hear shortly, is itself in serious trouble. Abarth's problem is the same one every sub-brand has when the parent falters. It has no independent dealer network, no independent parts supply, and no independent future. Its fortunes are entirely tied to a parent brand that is shrinking fast, and a performance badge attached to a shrinking small car range is the definition of exposed. Sub-brands are always the first thing cut when a group starts trimming because they are the easiest thing to cut, and the owners find out last. Number 13. Genesis. This is the luxury arm launched with enormous ambition and a genuinely good product. The cars themselves are well built and pleasant, and mechanically they share a great deal with vehicles that have earned solid reputations. The problem is that British luxury buyers are the most badge-conscious buyers on earth, and a premium marque without decades of history behind it has to buy its way into that conversation, which takes a generation and a fortune. Registrations have stayed small, the retail footprint is limited, and that combination hammers resale. This is not a bad car warning. It is a resale and support warning, and those are different things, which is worth remembering every time somebody tells you a brand is dying and you are looking at a perfectly good machine on the forecourt. Number 12. Subaru. In America, Subaru is a giant. In Britain, it is a rounding error, selling in volumes so low that the dealer network has been shrinking for years. That matters enormously for an owner, because these vehicles need specialists, particularly on the older engines, and if your nearest franchise dealer is 2 hours away, ownership becomes a chore. Good machinery, terrible market position in that country. Number 11. Maserati. Italian luxury with a Ferrari-derived engine note and, unfortunately, a reliability reputation to match its worst days. In Britain, the volumes are tiny, the dealer network is small, and the depreciation is savage. Running costs are the real story here, because insurance, fuel, brakes, and servicing on one of these are all priced for a different sort of customer than the one tempted by a cheap used example. I have said before that any European luxury car past 150,000 miles is a money pit, and this is that rule wearing a trident. Number 10. Jeep. Another brand inside the same enormous parent group as several others on this list, and in Britain it has never found its footing. Jeep's identity is built on American scale and American roads, and it does not translate to narrow lanes, expensive fuel, and city charging zones. Low volume, thin dealer coverage, and heavy depreciation, and a badge that means a great deal in one country and very little in another, is exactly the sort of thing that punishes you at trade in time. Number 9. Alfa Romeo. Beautiful cars, genuinely beautiful, and they drive better than nearly anything at the price. They also brake, and every mechanic in the trade knows it. Electronic throttle failures, computer modules going down, random limp mode. Owners report more service appointments than oil changes. In Britain, Alfa has been repeatedly named among the weakest performing brands in the market. The heart says yes, the bank account and the service department say no. Number 8. Citroen. And here is where the pattern starts becoming obvious. Citroen, DS, Fiat, Vauxhall, Jeep, Alfa, Abarth, Maserati. Look at how many brands on this list belong to the same enormous parent company. When a group that size starts recalibrating production and closing plants, every badge underneath it feels the squeeze, and Citroen has been squeezed hard, with the small car segment it built its name on collapsing under it. Number 7. Mitsubishi. Once a fixture and now essentially gone as a new car proposition in that market, having withdrawn from selling new vehicles in Europe and Britain. That is the clearest possible warning of what happens to owners, because the brand is still on the road in large numbers, but the new car pipeline is done. Parts and servicing continue for a period, but resale value on a badge with no new product is a losing position. Number 6. DS Automobiles. Here is a brand that had every advantage and could not make it work. DS was created to be Citroen's premium arm, which sounds fine on paper. Take the engineering, wrap it in nicer materials, add French flair, charge more, give buyers a bit of luxury without the German price tag. And honestly, the cars are not bad. Distinctive, interesting inside, genuinely different. But DS has never solved the problem that kills every invented premium brand. Luxury buyers do not shop for value, they shop for status, and eventually somebody in a restaurant car park squints at the badge and asks the question that ends the whole proposition. Isn't that just a Citroen? DS has been named among the worst performing brands in Europe, not the worst performing premium brands, the worst performing brands, and the parent group has been recalibrating production because the demand simply is not there. Number 5. Honda. And this one is different because this is not a badge nobody wanted. This is a brand Britain trusted completely for decades. Honda was what you bought specifically so you would never have to think about your car again. Engines that ran forever. A reputation built not on advertising, but on millions of people getting to work every morning without a single problem. If your dad ever told you to just buy a Honda, you know exactly what I mean. So here is what should concern you. Honda has been underperforming that market repeatedly, month after month. And you have to ask why, because the cars have not suddenly become unreliable. Honda still builds a fine engine. What happened is that the ground moved. Honda's entire pitch was sensible, dependable, good value, and a wave of new brands has arrived offering exactly that, with more equipment, longer warranties, and a lower price. Honda's promise did not get worse, it stopped being unique. And when your only selling point is being the sensible choice and somebody undercuts you on sensible, you are in serious trouble. Number 4. Fiat. Now here are the numbers that made me look twice. This is the brand that put Britain in small, cheap, cheerful cars for generations. The 500, the Panda. Never about performance or prestige, just about getting you around town without costing a fortune. In the first quarter of 2026, Fiat sales in Britain fell by 60%. 60% in a single quarter, the steepest decline of any established brand in that market. Not a dip, a collapse. And behind the scenes, the parent group has been recalibrating Panda production because European demand has fallen away. Here is the bitter irony. Fiat's entire reason to exist was being the affordable option, and when a brand's only advantage is price, it is completely defenseless the moment somebody arrives selling a better-equipped car for less money, which is exactly what has happened. Number 3, Vauxhall. And I need to be precise about this one because it is not what you might assume. Vauxhall is still selling cars in Britain. The showroom numbers are holding up reasonably. This is not a story about a badge nobody buys. This is a story about something worse, a British institution being dismantled. For 120 years, Vauxhall built vehicles in Luton. 120 years, through 2 world wars, through the collapse of the rest of the British motor industry. Generation after generation in that town worked in that plant, and it is gone. The parent group confirmed the closure, ending production and putting around 1,100 jobs at risk. The council called the economic damage substantial. The union called it a total disgrace and a slap in the face to the workforce. And here is the part that matters most, the reason the company gave. They pointed directly at the zero-emission vehicle mandate, the rules requiring manufacturers to sell a rising percentage of electric cars every year, whether buyers want them or not, and said publicly that the mandate was hurting their business model because consumer demand for electric vehicles was not there to meet the targets. Days after that announcement, the group's chief executive resigned, so the Vauxhall badge survives. Vauxhall, the British manufacturer, the thing that actually made it yours, has been shut down. Number 2, Jaguar. And this is without exaggeration one of the most spectacular self-inflicted collapses in the history of the motor industry. Say the name to anybody who loves cars and watch their face change. The leaping cat. The E-Type, which the founder of Ferrari himself is said to have called the most beautiful car ever made. The XJ gliding down a country road. Jaguar was not transport, it was a statement about who you were. Here is what is left of it. In January 2025, Jaguar registered 783 cars in the United Kingdom. In January 2026, 1 year later, Jaguar registered 6 cars. 6. That is a decline of over 99%. Read that again because I want it to land. A British luxury brand in its own home market sold 6 cars in a month. And it was not a one-off. Across Europe, the collapse has been of the same order, and globally Jaguar has gone from selling over 180,000 cars in 2018 to under 30,000. How does that happen to a brand people genuinely loved? They did it to themselves in stages. First, they killed the entire product range, discontinuing everything before the replacements existed, which left dealers standing in empty showrooms with nothing to sell to customers walking through the door. Then came the rebrand, a campaign that featured no cars at all, no heritage, no engineering, and no leaping cat, which they had also scrapped, replacing a globally recognized symbol with something aggressively generic. The reaction was instant and brutal. Months later, the chief executive stepped down, and the damage is structural now, not just reputational. The dealer network is reportedly shrinking from around 80 stores to about 20. Reliability rankings put Jaguar near the bottom of the industry, and the new electric models are not arriving in real numbers until 2027. So if you are considering a Jaguar right now, new or used, understand exactly what you are taking on. Resale on a brand in this position is extremely exposed. A network shrinking from 80 to 20 makes servicing harder and further away. And the parts and support question over the next decade is a genuine one. And number 1, Nissan. And this should genuinely shock you because this is not a fading luxury badge and it is not a brand nobody buys. This is one of the largest car makers on earth, over 90 years of history, still selling cars in Britain every single day, and still employing around 6,000 people in that country. Start with the money. Nissan reported a loss of several billion in a single financial year. Not a dip in profit, a loss on that scale. The response was drastic. 20,000 job cuts globally, the closure of 7 manufacturing plants worldwide, a 20% cut to production capacity. Those are not the actions of a company managing a difficult year. Those are the actions of a company fighting for survival. And it has reached Britain. The Sunderland plant is the largest car factory in the United Kingdom, around 6,000 people building the Qashqai, the Juke, and the electric Leaf. And it is Nissan's only manufacturing site on the entire European continent. That plant has now had one of its 2 production lines closed, with the models consolidated onto a single line as part of a restructuring cutting around 900 jobs across Europe. Output has fallen to somewhere near 270,000 cars a year, down from a peak of more than 500,000. And the market share tells the rest. In 2016, Nissan held around 5.5% of the British market. By 2026, that had fallen to under 4%. Here is the detail that stopped me. Nissan is now being outsold in Britain by Chinese groups that most British buyers had never heard of 2 years ago. A 90-year-old global giant with a factory in the Northeast employing 6,000 Britons, outsold by brands that did not have a single showroom in that country 2 years back. So why is all of this happening at once? Because it is not 15 separate stories. It is one story with 15 victims, and 2 forces are pulling these brands apart at the same time. The first is regulation. The zero-emission vehicle mandate requires manufacturers to sell a rising share of electric cars in Britain every year, with targets that climb regardless of whether buyers are choosing them. The Luton closure came with that reason stated out loud. Manufacturers are being pushed to sell electric cars faster than the public is choosing to buy them, and something has to give. In Luton's case, what gave was 1,100 jobs. The second is competition, and this is the part most people have not grasped. 2 years ago, the Chinese groups had barely launched in Britain. Today, their combined registrations are ahead of Volkswagen, the biggest single brand in that country. And crucially, they are not growing the market, they are taking it. Their growth is larger than the growth of the entire market, which means every extra sale they make is a sale taken from somebody else, from Fiat, from Honda, from Nissan, from every brand on this list. Regulations squeezing from above, cheaper and better equipped competition eating from below, and caught in that vice, the brands that were already weak break first. So what does this mean for you standing in a showroom about to sign something? 3 things, and they are worth more than any spec sheet. First, check the brand before you check the car. Because a brilliant car from a collapsing brand is still a bad buy when you are the one hunting for parts in 5 years. Look at whether the brand is growing or shrinking in that market before you look at the alloy wheels. Second, watch the dealer network, which is the early warning sign almost nobody checks. Ask how many franchise dealers are within an hour of your home. Then ask how many there were 3 years ago. If that number is falling, servicing gets further away, warranty work gets harder, and the whole ownership experience degrades year by year. Third, be realistic about resale, especially on finance, because the value of a car from a shrinking brand can fall far faster than the finance company assumed when they set your figures. And that is exactly how people end up owing more than the car is worth. And I will add a 4th of my own because it is the one that costs the least and helps the most. If you already own a car from one of these brands, do not panic and do not dump it in a hurry at a bad price. What you do instead is get ahead of the parts question. Find a good independent specialist near you now while you have time to choose one, rather than in 3 years when the dealer has closed. Buy the wear items that are known to be scarce for your model before they get hard to find. And keep every service record, because on a struggling badge, documented history is the only thing that will hold your resale up at all. 15 brands, 15 warnings, and every one of them still sitting on forecourts being sold as though nothing at all is happening. Down in the comments, tell me which of these surprised you the most, whether you own one and whether you have already watched your car's value fall or struggled to find a dealer for a service, because your experience is the warning that saves somebody else, and I read every single one. Until then, check the company before you check the car, because you are not just buying a machine, you are buying 10 years of support. Don't let them sell you a repair you don't need. I'll see you in the next one.